important things that you can do as a practitioner when you're working with clients is to celebrate those wins with the client and allow them to really realize what they've done. So whether it be that they're now checking the labels of different foods before they purchase them to make sure that it's the right product for them, or if it's comparing different ones, like comparing their favorite to other ones, or maybe it's they pick something on a menu and instead of getting the chips and salad, they chose to just have the salad with the steak instead of the chips, salad, and steak. Or if it's that they've lost weight, or they've had a couple of alcohol-free days, celebrating those wins with them to give that positive reinforcement for them to feel good about what they're doing is really important. Basically, a practitioner is working in one of the hospitals with our company, and they've got a client that's just had a stroke and it's on nasogastric feeding and enterally fed, so fed via a tube. The client really wanted greens, but at the moment, that's probably not the most important thing. We need to get some energy in and to get her off the nasogastric tube, and that's ultimately what the goal is of the treatment. So just like, do you want to get off the greens or you want to get off the tube? Legit, like pretty much. It's just like, well look, I understand that, but how about give you the greens and then you're still in the tube? Or if you have the greens, you got to make sure you eat the meat and mash first. And that's probably where I'd go, is like, great that you love it and I know that you want it, but meat and mash is going to be the biggest bang for your buck. That's what we need to get in, and that's what's going to get you home the quickest, and that's what'll get that tube out the quickest. Do you reckon we can do that for a week? Yeah, okay, I guess I can do that. Yeah.
So he locks down.
He doesn't want to address.
No, I just think, I think maybe even like a location difference. Like maybe you could take him out and do like a go out
walk
with
and
him.
talk? Okay.
Yeah.
I'd like to do that. Actually.
Yeah.
Good for me too.
Yeah. Just because obviously he's trying to get moving again, and maybe if there's not like that confined space where you've got to focus on it, it can just be more open to conversation.
Yeah.
You could even take him to the shops.
Yeah.
As a conversation point.
Shop to shop,
Yeah, or even somewhere where he can go and eat. Like he says that he's actually gets really bad anxiety when he goes out by himself. Like maybe if you can kind of break that barrier a little bit, and you don't just land it on him, you just say,
go
look,
out for lunch and just say, I just want to...
how do you think about this? And maybe we could work through it, and maybe we could talk about like the menu, and we can make some appropriate choices that way. So it's less confronting for him, because he's just
step by step.
That social anxiety is real.
Many clients need an intensive phase of laxative therapy. You might be able to wean them off when they have their life and their bowels sorted, but until then, the anxiety of the poor bowel function is likely worse than the dependency in itself. So people who are constipated will also develop an enlarged, non-responsive colon just by being constipated. So being chronically constipated is more of a concern in the long run. So pick your battles.
If you do not or are not getting results for your client, so if your client is staying stable and you've been trying for 6 months to help him lose weight or help her lose weight and it's not working, then it becomes like, is it you? And it might not necessarily be the recommendation, because the recommendation in itself might work if it was implemented, but it might be how you're delivering the information, how you're motivating the client, how you're manipulating or motivating that client towards doing the recommendation and following through with the recommendation to achieve their goal. And a lot of practitioners have trouble with making the connection between what a recommendation is and the goal. And a lot of the time it happens in your head, and a lot of dietitians have that conversation in their head, but they don't actually explain it. Diet rules are good for some people. That's the disclaimer, right? So you should not be saying that diet rules are bad for everyone. That shouldn't be your thing, and that's what you're doing right now. And that's what you, as a more experienced, even though most of you have only had a month experience, and then some of you have 10 years experience that weren't or were in the diet rules game and now aren't, I spout it, and it's quite confusing, and it's quite confronting, and quite guilt trippy, just make up terms, whatever, for new people coming through, because you're creating a system where you're making others feel like they need to be like you. And with Instagram the way it is now, and social media in general, people are looking up to these people that have a great follower base, even though they don't have the most credentials or they don't have the most experience, they've just got the most followers. So you don't want to just ask a non-specific blasé question, because you won't get the answer that you want. You'll have to do 3 or 4 follow-up questions. Like if you started a consult to go, all right, tell me what you eat each day. It doesn't give a lot of direction. Whereas if you were to say, starting from when you wake up in the morning, tell me what you would usually eat from when you wake up to when you go to bed. So it's just being very specific, because then you'll actually get the answer that you want, rather than going, all right, what do you eat each day? And they go, oh, I eat some bread, have some fruit. And then you got to go, all right, so what do you have for breakfast? Go, oh, all depends. Could be oats, could be bacon and eggs. But instead you might have asked, like, specifically, what is the most regular breakfast that you have? You go, oh, I'll probably have oats. Well, how many days a week is that? All right, 3 to 5? Great, awesome. It's just being more direct with those questions. Get the information that you need, so then you can actually do your job. Putting people that have the most follower count in any discipline, including dietetics, above those with less is the wrong way to go about putting someone on a pedestal in terms of who you look up to in dietetics. So just because someone's got a following does not mean that they're actually credible. You think about it when you think about influencers that don't have dietetic knowledge. You don't put their nutrition knowledge on a pedestal because they got 500,000 followers or 200,000 or 5,000 or 20,000. You do it based on their credentials. So why aren't you doing the same for dietetics? Soz. Biggest diet trend? Jesus, man, that is a massive question. I don't know, vegan. Vegan's been trending hard though for years, so it's just the plant-based movement. I think that'll just get heavier and heavier and heavier. All of the alternative meats, I think that's becoming a more mainstream thing, and then Macca's now investing in it a bit. In the States, they're probably going to work in even more in Australia, so I'll see a lot of people going to move to that based stuff, thinking that it's healthier, even though at the end of the day, the energy and macronutrient content, I think, will end up being quite similar, and people are going to be overemphasizing in that getting the Beyond Meat burger from Macca's is way healthier than getting a quarter pounder, but I don't think that'll necessarily play out. So I think it'll just be that entire misinformation by the public moving towards plant-based, thinking that it's better, but it's going to be hyper-processed plant-based food rather than everyone eating more vegetables.